This will be a summary of Revelation 17 and 13. In researching these two chapters, several problems took time to resolve themselves accurately. This video will give a simple presentation of the final historical understanding of Revelation 17 and 13. The previous videos will be kept for research purposes. Anyone wishing to see how long it took for me to figure this out might be interested in those videos. It is important to note in these two chapters that there are multiple understandings. There are multiple authors here. These chapters evolved, and the only interpretation that will be given here is the final understanding. Other facets of this chapter will likely be addressed later. This is only a simple historical presentation of the current version of Revelation 17 and Revelation 13. In beginning to understand these two chapters, it is far more simple to break down chapter 17 first. Chapter 17 gives both an early understanding and a late understanding. The primary difference between the two is the addition of the 10 kings and the nature of the prostitute. From Revelation 17, this is the king's list. Notice that the 8th king is left blank. This is important. Should anyone attempt to break down these kings, I would strongly recommend leaving the 8th king empty. Revelation 17 only gives a partial indication of the nature of the 8th king. Nevertheless, from Revelation 17, the king's list is Julius Caesar, Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. Nero should be kept in mind because there is a specific emphasis on the 6th king. The 7th king is Galba. It should be noted that the early authors probably only intended there to be 8 kings. The following kings are added later. The final 10 kings are Vespasian, Titus, Domitian, Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, Lucius Verus, Marcus Aurelius, and Commodus. The final authorship date that adds these kings is consistent with the time frame of 180 to 197 CE. So that is the simple king's list from Revelation 17. The 8th king is an allegory by itself. The simple understanding of the prostitute in this chapter is consistent with Rome. However, the prostitute is extraordinarily complex. Since this video is only about the final simple understanding, the prostitute is only Rome. Complex understandings will be addressed later. In chapter 13, our king's list shows up again, this time without the prostitute. Again, it is important to note that the original author specifically emphasized the 6th king. That would be Nero. In chapter 13, the dragon is a dogmatic Satan reference. It is a late understanding, and it is largely irrelevant. The dragon gives power to the kings, and the kings gives their power to the beast of the earth. The beast of the earth is Titus. This chapter is about the siege of Jerusalem in 70 CE. The 8th king is an image of Nero on a coin. Titus gives power to the image of Nero by sacking Jerusalem. Anytime this chapter says the word image, it is literally speaking of the image on a coin. Anytime this chapter talks about a mark, it is literally speaking of a coin. The numerology at the end of this chapter should be ignored. This number, no matter what it is supposed to mean, is irrelevant. Chapter 17 and 13 can be easily understood without the numerology. So that is the simple final understanding of Revelation 17 and 13. The initial purpose of this exercise was to determine what historical events and characters the authors were speaking of. The complex understandings come from the allegories themselves. The complex understanding must be kept separated for now. These complexities cannot be treated lightly and should not be underestimated. These authors turned history into something extremely complicated.